Hello, Awaken Beauties. Finally, it's here. The truth to empower women to true inner beauty through healthy biology. And now, here is your hostess, Cassandra Keel, your organic beauty and CBD mentor, helping you stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back. Sponsored by evokebeauty.com.
Welcome to the Awaken Beauty Podcast. I am Cassandra, your organic beauty, positive mind management, and endocannabinoid mentor. And previously on a full episode, I welcomed Julie Tebben, functional medicine and women's health expert, to discuss how our hormones specifically impact our skin and our hair, and specifically hair loss. Now, being an organic salon owner for over 22 years and someone that works with hair color and women's hair basically every day, all day long, I see a number of women coming in with what I would call a starting epidemic of women with thinning hair and losing their hair. Now, there's many, many reasons why, and today's mini episode is to uncover specifically 15 of them. It's a pretty broad subject, but hopefully by the end of this mini episode, you'll be able to get insight into any variable that you may have. As you know, discovering our own health, getting to the bottom of the root issue is like peeling an onion. So to start off, the statistics are pretty daunting. 30% of women report serious hair loss by the age of 30. And by the age of 50, that statistic climbs to 50%. So this is a major problem of both vanity and, quite frankly, sanity. It's demoralizing, and conventional medicine often pats a woman on the back. And I know you've heard it, murmuring, "You're getting older. It's completely normal. Just get used to it." But I have to say that is a complete lie, because I have seen women transform their health, use products such as our Root Revival hair growth system, and turn the table for the better. So as someone who has struggled personally with hair loss, I had an iron deficiency, and through a stressful time in my life and moving my business, I lost over 50% of my hair in a matter of 3 weeks. I remember thinking, will this ever stop? How could I possibly go back to my clients? Having lost all of my hair, how will I hide it? I remember the shame. I remember just not feeling myself and not confident. So as I went to the doctor and I asked for a hormone panel, I asked for a better way to rejuvenate my iron and my ferritin levels, I felt empty, as they turned to me and said, "And what good would that do for us now?" So I found that answer completely unsatisfying, and more important, unnecessary. So if you have hair loss, take heart, my dear one. Help is on the way. I've been through it. I get it. And I've walked other women through it. And if you go back to Julie Tebben's podcast, we can get into the nitty-gritty of what exactly the hormones are doing. And today we're going to do a mini episode so that you can have at least 15 takeaways that you can kind of gain insight on, as noted. Getting to the root is basically what we're in the pursuit of. And we're getting to the root of cause of hair loss. Sometimes it can be associated with hormonal imbalances such as thyroid. It can be attached to insulin levels and often testosterone. Occasionally, hair loss can also be linked to physical and emotional trauma. And this is probably then a correlation of dysregulation of cortisol, which is your stress hormone. I also find that a lot of clients have underlying health conditions, whether they know it or not, such as autoimmunity issues, or it could be a gut dysregulation issue from the autoimmune issue. Either way, we're on the pursuit of getting to the root cause. So to find a particular reason for hair loss, most functional medicine practitioners can order a blood panel to test the several different hormones, their pathways, their metabolic interaction in the body to figure out where the condition specifically is at any point in time. So correcting hair loss is really about sussing out the cause. So for example, some women make too little thyroid hormone to grow their hair. And so the body is really trying to heal, is trying to muster up energy, and doesn't have enough macro, micro, protein, what have you, to regenerate itself, making it a lower priority than, say, keeping your body, just keeping it warm. It's a basis of survival. Other women make too much of the hormone testosterone, and that causes what we see as female balding in the front, where the hair line kind of starts to recede. And that is also the main culprit of a metabolite daughter of testosterone called DHT. Now we'll get into that later. So let's go ahead and just jump in. So here are some of the most common causes of hair loss. So as noted, low thyroid. So rapid hair loss can be an early sign of a thyroid problem. And in fact, 50% of women have a thyroid problem and don't even know it. And it's often first diagnosed in the beauty salon. Hello. I often try to bring this awareness to women, especially if I'm seeing a recession in the front area, kind of like the balding as most men get, because this is often correlated with low thyroid. In addition to thinning and shedding, your hair can become coarse, it becomes dry, and it becomes easily tangled. This kind of general hair loss will slow and eventually stop once your hormone levels are stabilized. But sometimes the problem continues even after treatment, so you need to be patient, especially if you're taking levothyroxine, and that's a synthetic hormone, and it's often used to treat hypothyroidism. So excessive or prolonged hair loss is known as a side effect of this drug. And so, is the cart before the horse, is the chicken or the egg? You want to look into this, because if you're still losing hair despite what your doctor calls a sufficient treatment, it may be a correlation back to the drug that you're taking. So what should you do? So I suggest, like Julie, as a functional medicine practitioner, work with a functional medicine practitioner or an internist of someone that has a specialty in this area with the experience of treating thyroid conditions. It's a very nuanced situation to be in, and there are far and few in between that really understand how intricate the thyroid is and what it is all connected to. So what I recommend is to get a full thyroid blood panel. So sometimes micronutrient deficiencies such as low selenium and zinc are a reason for faulty thyroid function. Or you may even have an autoimmune, which is an autoimmune thyroiditis, which we often now call Hashimoto's, which needs to be addressed with a functional medicine protocol. So because changes in the dosage can trigger the hair loss, low and slow, just like I tell you with CBD, is the best way to go for any medication that you're starting on. So some people find that their hair loss diminishes right away, and sometimes it can take a long time as you're getting that combination of the thyroid hormones of T4 and T3 to balance out. All right, ladies, if you're looking for healthy hair, beautiful skin, and a calm, quiet, clean, collected, powerful mind with superior CBD, go to evokebeauty.com. That's evoqbeauty.com, and you'll receive 25% off your very first order with the code AWAKEN. Again, that's evoqbeauty.com. Use the code AWAKEN for 25% off your first order. So number 2 would be low iron, is which I have experienced, and low lysine. And in fact, in one study, 90% of women with thinning hair are deficient in iron and the amino acid lysine. Lysine is really important because this is what helps transport iron, which is essential for this metabolic process that's so vital for hair regrowth. So what you could do about it, again, meeting with a practitioner that can help you find this way through testing, is to measure actually your ferritin levels. The most sensitive indicator of iron in the body is measured through ferritin. So you need a minimum of 40 to grow new hair. And a healthy range is between 70 and 80 for your ferritin levels. So make sure you get your daily dose of iron. And the best place to do this is through grass-fed, organic red meat. And you can also get it from rich leafy greens. And then when we're looking at lysine, good sources of lysine are foods rich in protein as well. So if you can add lysine to your diet with foods such as organic meat and poultry, you can also look to a modest amount of healthy soy through edamame, things of that nature. You can also find that in eggs. And if you're not sensitive, finding it in cheese and some fish. So if you need additional doses of an iron supplement, just make sure that you have a functional medicine practitioner or someone to help you track your ferritin so you don't get too much and trigger an iron overload. Another way to kind of intuitively figure out if you think you may be iron deficient is fatigue. And oftentimes fatigue can be a number one side of low ferritin and low iron store in the body. So moving on, number 3 is androgenic alopecia. Now, this is the most common type of hair loss, and it affects 30% of women. The typical pattern to find this kind of hereditary female hair loss is basically the widening part or the noticeable part of thinning hair over the mid-frontal portion of the scalp. So moving from your hairline from the front back to the kind of, colic, which you'll find in the back part of the hair, that whole area is usually adapted to androgenic alopecia. And sometimes women with alopecia have polycystic ovary syndrome, so quoted as PCOS. And I see this more and more common, especially as women are having an excess of xenoestrogens. And I talk more about that in another mini episode on how xenoestrogens affect our health. But it certainly can bring a higher percentage of PCOS. So typical signs and symptoms of these ovarian cysts is irregular periods, weight gain, blood sugar problems, infertility, and what we're talking about today, hair loss. So the problem may be exacerbated in some patients because taking drugs for thyroid problems also cause issues with PCOS. So it's noted that approximately 22% of women with PCOS have alopecia, unfortunately. So that's another, question to ask your doctor when you go in if you're experiencing hair loss and you have irregular periods or you have had weight gain or blood sugar problems or infertility is, do you have PCOS? So the good news is that you can often stop and even reverse these symptoms of hair loss once you balance the hormones. So what should you do? The takeaway is run a full blood panel. So there is evening primrose that can also help with this kind of situation. I love evening primrose. It is a GLA oil, and after you turn 30 and well into our 50s, we lose the enzyme to convert and to be able to make this type of fatty acid and to use it for our benefit. And besides inhibiting DHT, the main culprit behind alopecia is evening primrose. Is basically a good fatty acid that can help with the syndrome and the symptoms of hypothyroidism and PCOS. And sufficient essential fatty acids are incredibly pivotal. I mean, we've talked about this in previous episodes that the endocannabinoid system is the master regulator for the entire body. And we make our own endocannabinoids, which are from fatty acids. And so if we don't have the ability to make them, convert them, or utilize them, we end up with deficiencies in the body, whether that be plump skin, hair loss, you name it. So make sure that if you don't have an abundance of essential fatty acids in your diet, you can add it. And I really love Primrose. We've built it into our CBD serum and topical oil for the skin, because the skin and the scalp cannot regenerate this kind of mechanism in the body. We supply it through a topical. And Primrose has actually been shown to take down inflammation and actually help with regenerative properties in the scalp for hair regrowth. So if you're changing your foods or your supplements, just make sure that you have those fatty acids included. Now, the fourth reason that you may be experiencing hair loss is not enough protein. So if you don't get enough protein in your diet, ladies, your body will maintain a mode of famine. And it simply just starts to shut down, and it shuts down not only other production from being able to metabolize and detoxify correctly. That's right. You need protein to be able to have energy for the liver to be able to detoxify and take those toxins and remove them from the body to get into a water-soluble state, as well as being able to regrow hair, to have energy, to bring all of these vital nutrients and energy into creating apoptosis and healthy cellular redivision in the scalp. This can be, happen over a long period of time. If you are a vegan or live on a plant-based diet, that's fine, but we want to make sure that we have those quick chain amino acids that we can either supplement, or I do encourage you to get, it through fish or another possible clean protein powder or hemp powder, so that you can give that body that quick jolt of needed energy when your body is in a feast or famine type state. So what you want to do is make sure that you're eating clean protein. It can be from fish, grass-fed meat, eggs, quinoa, and just make sure that you stay on top of that. There are some tests that you can also take, but I think it's as simple as just being mindful of at least 3 ounces 2 times a day and at least 3 times a week. So the next is excess vitamin A. So if you find that you've just started taking a new multivitamin, or you started a supplement containing vitamin A, you may have driven your vitamin A levels too high, which actually can trigger hair loss. Now, this is a hidden piece, but a lot of supplements have an abundance of vitamin A in them. And we're finding that this overabundance of synthetic vitamin A is causing and triggering hair loss. So the key takeaway here is your total intake of vitamin A should be no more than 5,000 IUs per day. So when you remove excess vitamin A, there's potential that your hair will continue to grow back normally again. Now, remember, this is one piece of the puzzle, but just make sure that you check that you're not taking more than 5,000 IUs of vitamin A per day. Listeners of Awaken Beauty Podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Simply go to www.audibletrial.com/Awaken Beauty Podcast. That's www.audibletrial.com Awaken Beauty Podcast. Next is stress hormones. From physical to emotional. We are the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit. Nothing is left untapped and separated from who we are and what we create. And we can have all different kinds of perceptions of stress at all different layers and levels of what is true in your reality. So any kind of physical or emotional trauma can trigger what we call telogen effluvium. It can be a stressor from surgery. It could be weight loss. It could be an eating disorder. It could be a car accident, an illness, troubled marriage, a child with autism. It's all stress, and it's all stressors to the body, whether physical or emotional. So our hair grows on a programmed schedule. It has a cycle that involves a growth, a rest, and a shedding phase. So big emotional or physical stressors can cause these hair phases to lock down or quicken and hence exacerbate the shedding phase. So what do? I think you will guess that a little meditation, making sure you're getting enough sleep, but it is just so critical that we find the time in our day to speak truth of affirmation of who we truly are, letting things go, finding peace in ourselves, and clearing these places of physical and emotional stress. And if I were to be completely honest, I think this is the most powerful piece that any woman can directly address right here and right now. So I invite you, the invitation, to take that brief moment and we breathe into the bottom of our stomach. And notice that most of us breathe in the upper part of our chest. And this is a place of angst and worry and fear. And as we pull that breath down into our stomach and we push it out and in, as we take a deep breath in and out, you notice even in this somewhat stressful topic that we can find peace and calm to what you are experiencing right here and right now. And that is one powerful piece that you can take with you at any point in time. Moving on is fluctuation, the fluctuation of our hormones. And that is the time and the phase that we go through as women. It can be pregnancy, perimenopause. It can be from going on and off birth control pills. And Jolene Brighton has a brilliant book that is out about healing from birth control. And this can take many months to some years for some women. And I have often experienced women coming in either going on or coming off of the birth control pill. And no judgment either way, whatever your decision is. But there is a huge impact when you are forcing your hormones to either shut down or forcing them to come. And when this creation of force in the body happens, it is a very, very strong pulse on our hormones that often causes women to go through a short or elongated time of hair loss. So fluctuating hormones of pregnancy, perimenopause, or hopping on and off birth control pills, this causes also telogen effluvium, which especially as if you have a family history of hair loss, it can really, really increase your chances even more so to exacerbated hair loss in a short amount of time. So what can you do? Basically keeping your hormones stable as possible and mitigating what we just talked about and mitigating stress. In pregnancy, if you lose more hair postpartum than before you got pregnant, I suggest you see a healthcare professional and run some blood panels. So this is the way to see and validate if there's any underlying thyroid or autoimmune condition. Going through a pregnancy can be extremely stressful on the body. Some people and or some women can, I don't want to use the word attract, but they can ensue a thyroid issue. Insulin levels can go hayward, as well as just stress on the body. As far as pregnancy, we can talk more about that another time, but the increase in progesterone and then the progesterone drop can also cause a natural hair fallout. But again, we always want to regulate that and make sure that it's coming back in an efficient amount of time. And I've often found that women that have a baby, once they stop breastfeeding, the hormonal, I would say, natural increase and then decreases, the body finds it's back into its algorithm of natural balance, usually takes about 6 months. So moving on is going to be menopause. So sadly, hair follicles can shrink, and they shrink in menopause and as we age. And this is, again, going back to that direct correlation back to protein and having efficient energy in our body, our mitochondrial levels, our DNA synthesis, stressors. The body can slow down. But I am here to say in a biohacking world, us women can get them to be in tip-top shape by effort, de-stressing, and making sure that we're getting the correct nutrients, both inside and topically. Now, I've often found that menopausal women and women of this age do need the extra support topically. And it doesn't have to be through minoxidil or finasteride. There are natural options out there, one of being our root revival hair loss regrowth system. It is actually proven to be 2 times more powerful than minoxidil, and it has very vital components. And so topically, what happens is the hair shrinks and it gets finer and finer, and we call that miniaturization. And then once it becomes so fine and the hair follicle becomes so tired, so closed in, it continues to shrink, it just is likely to shed. So as noted, this is called miniaturization, and it's totally unfair. I totally get it. But one study also suggests that the ratio of estradiol to testosterone actually may influence hair loss in women, and that low ratios may be the culprit in some cases. So again, testing your hormones, making sure they're in balance, seeing what you can do with a functional medicine practitioner or someone that could possibly do bioidenticals is a great place to start. This ratio typically decreases during menopause. And not surprisingly, another study showed that women treated with bioidentical estradiol had less hair loss. So there are active points of reference when you work with a hormone specialist that we can naturally go in and use bioidenticals to balance out for the increase and chance of getting our hair to stop the miniaturization phase. So if you're over 40, I suggest you talk to a practitioner about whether bioidentical estrogen may be right for you. This is the key hormone that we lose as we get older. And this is the estrogen is the one that keeps us plump. It keeps us energized. It gives us a great sex life. And so even though they may degrade as we get older, there's a way that we can keep all of our hormones in balance that can affect both our sex life and hair growth. So go ahead and tap into a gynecologist to make sure that you stay safe and you don't develop any side effects or adverse reactions if you are going to start to take bioidentical estradiol, because estrogen also, as we get older, can be linked to endometrial cancer, breast cancer, and sometimes heart disease. All right, ladies, if you're looking for natural, organic, solution-based beauty and superior CBD, go to evokebeauty.com. That's EVOQbeauty.com and receive 25% off your very first order with the code AWAKEN. Again, that's EVOQbeauty.com. Type in the code AWAKEN for 25% off your first order. Now, the next is vitamin B deficiency. This can be exacerbated by stress or taking birth control pills, other medications, antidepressants, basically any medication, both of which deplete our B vitamins in the body. And this is pretty critical because this goes back to mitochondrial and cellular health. If you don't have healthy cells, we don't have healthier rejuvenation, and we don't have rejuvenation of beautiful plump skin and hair. Between food intake and supplementation, you should be able to correct this problem. And places to find Bs are going to be in meat, fish, starchy vegetables, and there are some fruits. Moving on is lack of fat. So going back to the endocannabinoid system, it is the self-regulating, master regulating system. And endocannabinoids keep everything in check and keep us healthy, keeps our mind healthy, keeps us in a good mood. And it is connected to hair loss. Specifically, going low in fat in your food plan causes the consumption of fewer calories, lack of nutrients, lack of lipid, lack of delivery, and all of these different transposed interactions in the body are carried through these fats. And oftentimes we fall into more carbohydrates than our body really needs. And we really need to be exchanging them into high fat and high protein for energy sources and good mitochondrial reproduction and protein synthesis for good genetic reproduction. So most importantly, you may miss out on essential fatty acids such as vitamin or omega-3 because a lot of us get an overabundance of omega-6, which can actually put us into a pro-inflammatory state. So make sure that you're focusing on omega-3, keeping that ratio high so that you can stabilize the scalp and stabilize hair growth. The stress of restricting this very macro, and I say macro, not micro, nutrient, such as fat, may be a source or maybe a force, I should say, for more hair follicles to enter into this, what we call the growth phase. So similar to low thyroid, your body gets the message to ratio it out, therefore it isn't getting enough fuel to support that growth phase. So to maintain, obviously, good fats from avocado, great fats from even supplementing with CBD oil, from nuts. These are all really, really great for hair and your health. So remember, don't skip out on that macronutrient, those lovely locks. Next is going to be autoimmunity. Sometimes the problem with alopecia or hair loss is these round patches on the head. And sometimes the problem is directly correlated to an autoimmune. And it also can be autoimmune thyroiditis. Either way, the cause is an overactive immune system. So the body basically just misidentifies the hair as a foreign and it attacks it. So what to do? This one specifically, you do need to see a clinician to reverse autoimmune thyroiditis. It's a very serious thing and it needs to be taken not lightly, and consider starting with an autoimmune protocol with your diet, healing foods, relaxation, meditation, and getting the body out of a place of stress. In some cases, you may want to see a dermatologist for steroid injections, but this to me is a last case resort. Next is medications. Some medications such as beta blockers, antidepressants, blood thinners, methotrexate, ibuprofen, which is NSAIDs, they all can hanker down the body, the liver, mitochondrial, and basically end in the cause of additional hair loss and hair thinning. So if you're taking any of these medications, go ahead and talk to your medical professional about the alternatives. And I will say this as well on a CBD note. There are studies found that coupling CBD and hemp extract when you are taking antidepressants or NSAIDs are really actually puts you into a position of power, because not only are you taking these other pieces, you want to take them separate from each other because they go down the same metabolic and P450 pathway. So taking them away from each other is best because then you don't dilute one or the other. But the CBD actually can help heal the body from an inflammatory state or a place of degradation that these NSAIDs, antidepressants, beta blockers, you name it, happen. And so you can then go and sweep up with the antioxidants and the anti-inflammatory and get the body into a cellular, let's just call it frequency, that is able to then go and heal what these other components of medications are doing. The next is overdoing hair care, and maybe that's hair color and also chemical-laden products. Now, this is something I have a lot of experience in, and I will say that I have a lot of women that I have helped heal their hair and as well as bring back hair growth from frequent hair dyeing. And the chemicals that are in hair dye, whether this be MEA, it could be ammonia and high levels of ammonia. There's all different kind of chemicals that we have in hair color. And what happens is it goes in and it shocks the scalp. And it creates this residual of continual shocking the scalp. It also has these nanoparticulates and chemicals in them that also create agitation on the scalp, inflammatory response on the scalp. And our bodies are becoming so indwelled with chemicals that women are walking out with a lot of scalp reactions. So frequent hair dyeing is something you want to be aware of. At Beauty Ecology, we have totally rehacked the system where we use enzymes versus ammonia, and we have an MEA, PBD, and all of these chemicals that we have removed from our hair color so that you can have beautiful hair as you age or just want to have fun. Also, frequent shampooing. You're disrupting the biome of the scalp. Also, if you have harsh sodium lauryl sulfate and other surfactants, that can strip the hair from the essential fatty acids and nutrients that the hair needs to help nurture, create a non-inflammatory state. Other treatments and products, vigorous styling, heat, blow drying, they all traumatize your hair follicles, and this can lead to hair loss. So keep that in check. If you have any questions, you know where to reach out, Beauty Ecology Organic Salon. And just make sure that I know you love your blowouts, but try to restrict washing your hair and disrupting your biome, 2 to 3 times a week. And to just put a plug in for our Evoke Beauty Root Revival Hair Growth System. It is a 3-part system that's meant to create a ecosystem for healthy biome on the scalp, as well as we have created a complex that you spray 3 times a week that we have. It's pretty incredible. There is a revolutionary system that we put together between a complex that's 2 times more powerful than minoxidil and is completely natural. It includes ECGC, which is green tea extract, zinc, sulfur, and other macronutrients, as well as nano CBD into a liquid form that has been brought through a frequency machine that has re-imprinted the bioenergy field of the actual water. And it creates this very, very symbiotic, balancing frequency when put onto the scalp to create a place of healing, balance, and a place of regrowth as your hair slowly starts to regenerate. It's pretty powerful. All right, ladies, if you're looking for healthy hair, beautiful skin, and a calm, quiet, clean, collected, powerful mind with superior CBD, go to evokebeauty.com. That's evoqbeauty.com, and you'll receive 25% off your very first order with the code AWAKEN. Again, that's evoqbeauty.com. Use the code AWAKEN for 25% off your first order. So moving on is insulin resistant and blood sugar problems. Insulin, that helper hormone in charge of regulating your blood sugar levels, can largely affect hair growth. Half of female patients and 60% of male patients with androgenic alopecia have a constellation of the signs and symptoms related to insulin resistance: blood sugar abnormalities, hypertension, and abnormal cholesterol. Another study found that androgenic alopecia may be an early marker of insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, and cardiovascular disease in men. So the same is true for women as well. And what do you do about it? The good news is cutting sugar and artificial sweeteners and being active and losing weight all are the number one, first and foremost areas that you can reverse insulin resistance and lower your chances of hair loss. Now, this is one of them that I find is completely in your hands and is extremely powerful. So the next and the last is aging. Yes, dear one, aging. Now, as a pro-aging woman, I feel we get better with age. And while age-related cause isn't totally clear, it's probably has to do with the hair follicle slowing down and getting depleted, which we talked about earlier with miniaturization. So as we get older, all sorts of things can happen. And oftentimes testosterone is trying to leave the scalp. And this free-floating testosterone is known as DHT, known as a toxin trying to escape the scalp. And it also causes miniaturization and for the follicle to become smaller and at some point in time fully close down and pluck from the scalp, not being able to regenerate. This is why I go back to why it's so important to use a topical when we're aging, because our body slows down. We don't get the nice macro and micronutrients that we may need or be able to convert efficiently. And so we need the topical to help. Even though you go to your doctor and they say you're just getting older, I have just listed off 15 variable reasons of what may be an underlying root cause, but also very clear steps of how you, with the help and support of a functional medicine practitioner or even myself or a well-informed hairdresser, can help you take the steps to creating a healthy ecosystem for follicular health and regrowth. So we are all getting older, and with pride, I say that, dear one. The key is your biological age as opposed to your chronological age. So I hope all of this has been a blessing to you. And as you can see, it's very nuanced. It's very individual. But the bottom line is, when it comes to your hair loss and prescription therapies, natural therapies, we want to reproportion your hormones, not search and destroy. So I highly recommend that you get to the root of your hair loss by finding the cause. Work with a collaborative health professional, functional medicine practitioner, and view hair loss as an important message from your body that needs to simply be decoded. Often when you heal your hair loss, you heal other systems in your body, such as your gut, your immune system, and your endocrine system. So now it's your turn. Have you experienced significant hair loss? I hope some of these 15 different tips will help lead you a little bit closer to possibly why, or asking the questions why, to getting to the root cause. What solutions have worked for you? Let me know. Leave your Facebook comments in the group over at the Awaken Beauty Facebook community. Leave it here in this episode. Please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite episodes. And leave your key takeaway from today's time together on the Awaken Beauty Podcast. Until next time, stay sane, get sleep, and ladies, bring your sexy back. This is Cassandra, your organic beauty, positive mind management, and endocannabinoid mentor, signing off.
Hello, Awaken Beauties. Thank you for joining Cassandra today. Were you inspired to bring your sexy back? Please like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Interested in high-quality natural products for your hair, skin, and wellness? Please visit evoquebeauty.com. Again, that's evoquebeauty.com. EVOQ beauty.com. Until next time, stay sane, get sleep, and bring your sexy back.